Hey, everybody, and welcome to Beyond the Booth here on RiverCity-Media. I'm the interim host tonight with Randy being out tonight on special assignment, but we got the normal WQSB Phil Harris with us tonight, and our special guest tonight is Fort Payne High School coach Robbie Coker. Coach, thanks for taking the time to join us tonight.
Thanks, Howie. I mean, you don't give me any Tuesday nights off in January, so I might as well
That,
be working.
that's that's what I was going to ask you about last night. We was scheduled to do it last night, but we had some issues and wasn't able to do it. But I was going to ask you, how in the world or who scheduled the game last night on the national championship night?
Well, the winter weather, it's every game we had to get it in, and we were faced with delays coming and trying to read Mother Nature. Talked to the guy at Southside, Chad Holderfield, and we just both agreed, like, hey, we got to get this game in. Sorry, I got a phone call. Let's play on Monday night. So, no offense to the Big Ten and the Midwest, but I don't guess we didn't even think about the national championship game.
Yeah.
With our Crimson Tide not being in the playoff this year, I guess it never crossed my mind.
Yeah, it would have. I'm sure it would have made a big difference if somebody from the Southeastern Conference had been in it, especially Alabama, Auburn, or Georgia, or Tennessee, somebody like that. So, but
Howie, I can't
anyway,
hear you at all. I don't know if it's because of that phone call I got or.
okay. Phil, see if he can hear you.
Can you hear me, Coach? Can you hear me at all? You may have to
Coach, you may have to log out. Well, he can't
log
hear me
out,
say
log
that.
back in.
Yeah, but he can't hear me say
I
that.
can't hear you guys at all. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
I think he's going to log out, maybe log back in. So, anyway, they played against Southside last night, Phil, and as we was talking before we went on the air, it's a low scoring game, but that's kind of what Fort Payne likes.
Well,
Hey,
I think
this is Randall. I'm going to try to bring Coach back in, see if we can make it work.
Okay,
okay.
Coach, you got us now.
Coach, if you can somebody mouth to him to log back in and restart?
Well, he's muted right now.
Yeah.
Coach is muted.
No.
Coach, can you hear us now?
Can you hear us now?
Coach, can you hear us?
You guys can still
I'm
hear
going to
me?
go text him. Y'all talk.
Yeah. I heard you talk. I heard you talk that
I can't
time.
hear Phil at all. It's crazy.
That's backwards.
I can't help it. It's just gonna be the way it is.
Yeah, we'll restart if you guys want to.
I
Hold
hear
on
you.
1 second.
Yeah, I can hear him. Just you restart. So anyway, a low scoring game for them last night, Phil. That's kind of what they like.
Yeah, I think so. What's 44-34, I believe it was over Southside. But that's kind of the way this team's built. If they're going to be successful, those games are going to probably be in the 40s and 50s. They're very, very good defensively. I think on the offensive end, they're very patient with the basketball, and they've got to play that type of game.
Right. Coach, you hear us now?
I've got you, Howie. I'm sorry,
Good deal.
man.
No. It's all good. It happens occasionally when people does this using their phone. They'll get a text or a phone call, and it causes a little bit of issue, but we get it straightened out. So, but anyway, me and Phil was kind of talking while he was getting readjusted. A big area win last night against Southside, low scoring game, and as we were saying, that's kind of like the type of game that you like playing, low scoring games.
You guys know me. I want to play as fast as I talk, but
Yeah.
with the injuries the way they've happened, and our skill set and our depth, we kind of made the decision that for this team to be successful in 6A and playing the schedule that we play, that we were going to play more of a methodical way. And I told Mitch Rice, I said, Coach Rice would be proud, man. We're keeping that thing in the 40s. All we need to do is add the flex in. And but this group, give them a lot of credit, man. Give my guys a lot of credit. Like, it's not a fun way to play. It's not a fun way to practice. You turn it over, it feels like 4 turnovers. You get down 4, it feels like you're down 9. It's a it's a war of attrition sometimes, and our guys have really done a good job of buying in and doing it exactly what needs to be done for us to be successful. I think last night we're 17-7 now. Our 7 losses are all been quality basketball teams and on the road. So really proud of our guys, and a lot of unselfishness, a lot of putting the team first. Got a lot of guys playing out of position. It's been a hard year. It's a grind to play that way, and it's not for the weak at heart. And our guys have really answered the bell, and I'm really proud of them.
Yeah, talk about this season a little bit. As far as you've been doing it for quite a while now, you may not think about it, but you have been doing it for quite a while now. Is this the most injuries you've had in a season?
That's what I told my wife. Last night we were talking about it again. I'm not over it yet. I hope to get over it soon. But we've been very fortunate throughout our career. The only other year that reminds me of this, I think, was 20, 28, 2008, 2009 at Ole Miss. We had 3 ACLs that year within a 14-day span, I think, maybe 20-day span. Uh, so, but we also had a freshman end up being SEC freshman of the year and getting drafted by the Detroit Pistons as a backup. So it wasn't quite as painful as this year. Tarico White kind of took over the year for us, but yeah, it's the most injuries I've 2021. I keep looking up at the wall. I've got all my teams on the wall. 2020, 2021. Luke Smith got mono and missed 12 games, and Jacob Henderson tore his ACL. We lost 2 big guys there for a long stretch there of the season. But other than that, we've been very fortunate with the injury bug, and over the course of my career, so I can't complain. I hate it for these 2 kids, especially Josh Scott being a senior, a kid that's earned the right to be successful. Probably put himself in a position to play for 6A Player of the Year, be first team All State. Just had a phenomenal off season and had really, really put the time and effort in to be successful. And for it to be taken away the way it was is very, very disheartening. And hopefully, hopefully, I told him early on, there's no pity in this. Our team took on the approach that I think it's Romans 8:28. We have to believe it all comes to the greater good for a believer in the end. And we don't know what the blessing's going to be for Josh Scott, but this is going to be a blessing in his life one day. And you just have to believe that, or you get very, very dark place and get very disheartened.
Well, the way athletics is going, if we could move up 2 or 3 more years, he might could get a red shirt and be able to play again next
Well,
year.
the way the court is, I thought about suing H&A and see if we get an injunction maybe and see if he could play next year. But
Right.
you know, uh, all kidding aside, Coach A. Cuff at Lipscomb, is looking forward to getting Josh in his program. He's got a lot more basketball ahead of him. The surgery went great. The lady that did Herb Jones's, I can't think the doctor's name. She did his about 72 hours after the injury. He went back this week, got it recasted. It's coming along as exactly how they anticipated. So hopefully by May or June, he'll be able to go back to full basketball activity. And whether he starts, I'm assuming he'll start the summer in Nashville with Coach Acuff and at Lipscomb. So that's once the season's over, he can kind of move on with his life. He's got bigger fish to fry. And he's been a phenomenal teammate, been a phenomenal leader for this team, even on the sideline. And we look for big things from Josh, and we expect him to make a full recovery.
That's awesome. Phil, I'll turn it over to you, man.
Well, Coach, of course, I saw Josh Scott, and when I went to the Gaston City game, and you can tell a young man misses basketball. He was out there on the floor with them when they were doing warm ups, and he's still a big part of this team. Coach, I didn't get to see y'all before he went down. How did this affect your team with losing
I mean,
Scott?
you take off 24 points and 9 rebounds a game. You tell me how it affects every team.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a 6'2" guard that dominates the game on both ends. He's our best defender. It was a natural matchup nightmare. They put a small guard on him to get under him. We could post him up. They put a big guy on him. He could drive him. I think he was shooting 42% from three. Like I said, I mean, he was going to make a case for 6A Player of the Year. You just don't replace guys like that. Alabama, maybe Nick Saban back in the day, there was a time where we could lose a defensive end. There might be a better player, maybe a little younger, backing him up before the transfer portal and NIL. But anybody in the state of Alabama loses a kid of this caliber, it was going to be a burden on their team. We've tried not to use it as an excuse. We told the guys, we've been very honest. Look, guys, there's people in town, there's people around that if you take this excuse, they'll give it to you. If you want to crutch for this year to be a bad year, you've got it. Handle it as men, handle the challenge. Adversity weakens the weak, it strengthens the strong. It's kind of been our rallying cry. And to this group's credit, they haven't used it as an excuse one time. And because of that, we've been able to find a way to win some basketball games.
Yeah, well, Coach, and hats off to the young men too. I mean, this is a team that's 17-6, and you could very easily be at 500 because now defensively, I mean, those kids really get after it. And then one thing I know you coach is sacrifice. These guys are going to sacrifice for the greater good, and you can tell on the offensive end you're limited. You have a lot of rudder screens, a lot of screens and set plays to try to get open looks for your team on the offensive side of the basketball. And in the Gadsden City game, I was sitting with Kevin Worthy, and we were talking about, Gadsden City got a few turnovers, got some transition baskets. And I said, Fort Payne can't get anything easy. Everything they have to work so hard for. But you look at the scoreboard, and they're only down 8 points. Somehow, some way, they stay in a basketball game.
We had it down to, it was 10 at the half, and we challenged our guys. Look, guys, figure out a way to get this thing to 4 with 4 to go. The way we play, like you said, there's no 14-2 runs or anything like that. So, catch your breath. It's going to be a long grind. Don't look for the 7-pointer out there. It's not out there. Just stay in the game. Figure out, let's get that thing to 4 points with 4 to go. And you look up, we get it to 4 to, we're down 4 with 30 seconds to go in the third quarter. And the sharp kid, comes off the ball screen and drills a 25-footer at the buzzer to push it to 7. They get the ball to start the fourth quarter. And then the Barksville kid, Devin Barksville, drills another 3-pointer, a hard shot to go up 10. And we really never got back in the game. It's one of them deals, man. We do struggle to score, especially against someone as athletic as Gadsden City. Gadsden City does a good job of making us score through their face and earn every inch on the floor. And like you said, they create easy opportunities for themselves by forcing turnovers and playing in transition. So you're right, man. It's a slugfest for us to be in the game, and uh, hopefully, South Side, both games are 2-point games in the fourth quarter. We're going to play Southside at Gadsden City next Saturday. Hopefully come out on the winning end again. If you're lucky enough to do that again, and then maybe get another shot at Gadsden City, and maybe you can put your best foot forward.
Yeah, because you never know. I mean, that's why you play these basketball games. And like last year, y'all was the home team in the area finals, and you lost and had to travel in the first round. You can return the favor naturally. And I think these kids play hard enough, and they're confident enough that, if they get a few breaks here or there, they've got the opportunity to beat Gadsden City. Of course, they've got to beat Southside first.
Absolutely. The reality is this: like, anytime we go out, it's a pick 'em. When you play as slow as we play, you also don't get away from other people. I mean, we've had a couple games we've won by double figures, but this group is battle tested. We've been in a lot of close games, and we could lose out. We could lose our next 4 and our season be over, or we could win 4 and like you said, look up in a fist fight with Gadsden City. So we've challenged our guys to live in the moment. Today we got some shots up and lifted and watched film, kind of rested a little bit. Tomorrow we'll go 75 minutes, 80 minutes. We'll run the same group out there against Westminster. Another team is playing well at the right time. We'll go light on Friday. We'll go to the Hotbed Classic and play Oxford, Mississippi. And and another fist fight. We'll take Sunday off. We'll practice 65 minutes on Monday, and we'll go to Etowah on Tuesday. So we kind of know who we are. We kind of know the drill, and we just hope that we can continue to get a little bit better. We've got 6 or 7 practices left before the area tournament starts next Saturday at Gadsden City. We play Southside again, and we'll roll it out, and we'll give it our best effort. I do believe I told our guys, and we took them on the chin. Pennsylvania Valley came in here and got us pretty good. We played Alcoa, the back-to-back state champion in Tennessee, and they got us pretty good. And guys, in those kind of games, it's going to fall perfect for us. We got a small window of opportunity. Wasn't the case, but there's no quit in this locker room. There's no cowards in this locker room. We've embraced the challenge, and I think we'll do the same thing again on Thursday night, on Saturday, on Tuesday, and next Saturday. I really kind of know who I have in that locker room. I know how they're going to respond, and there's a blessing to that. And they just got to keep bringing the fight each night out.
Well, Coach, one thing about losing Scott, Josh Scott is, hurts the basketball team, but there's a couple of guys getting some valuable playing time. The Harrell kid, also Cy Powell. I noticed in the Gadsden City game, he was a little nervous earlier on, but he kind of adjusted to the game. He missed a couple of free throws, but then he seemed like he kind of adjusted to the game, hit a big bucket down the stretch, hit a free throw. This is valuable time for those two to really contribute this team to go along with Jackson, Banks, and the others.
No question. The seniors have been great. I told Jackson and Levi and even JJ as a junior, play a lot of minutes. Like, these young guys are going to feed off you. If you guys come in here pouting and feeling sorry for us, this thing could go south. These young guys are going to feed on how you lead and how you respond, and they've been unbelievable every day. This group really, Jackson Banks and I've been fortunate enough to coach for 2 years. Fisher Abbott, Levi Crow, they've got a workmanlike mentality, man. They just show up, not a lot of drama. They're going to do what you ask them to do. They've been very, very good for us. And the younger guys have kind of bought into that mentality. Like you said, Roman Harrell and Aiden Rains, 2 sophomores playing a lot of minutes. And because of our depth, I've had to allow them to play through some mistakes that sometimes young guys don't get to play through mistakes because you've got so many guys above them. So certainly some valuable minutes. We moved. We wanted Cy Powell to play a lot of minutes. He's an 8th grader. I don't think in basketball you get better sitting. So we let him play a lot of JV games early on, get a lot of minutes, and then after the Christmas break, we say, look, we're going to let you play on the varsity the rest of the way. And he's gotten valuable minutes for his development, as well as he can help us win basketball games. He's a strong kid. Look at his legs and all. He's a big man. He may be an 8th grader mentally, but his body, he's a junior. That's what I tell him. Like, Si, you got to use your body more. The Lord's blessed you with a great body, and he is very physical. He doesn't really understand how physical he can be, and on the varsity level, sometimes, if he'd have been playing 8th grade games, he'd have been over the back and pushing people down, with his size. But, now, these guys lean back on him. He's figured it out a little bit. He's certainly helped his team win some basketball games and be in some games. And you're exactly right. Hopefully those minutes not only, provide confidence from those guys for this year, but also can help in their development down the road.
Yeah, definitely. So, of course, with Powell, he's got a pretty good pedigree behind him. He's going to know the game. That's for sure. Because I know Mom kind of grills him a little bit, each night of basketball. So he's going to be a good one. I guarantee you that down the stretch, he's going to be big for your program. And Coach, and I'll consider this, to me, this has been a great year. And I don't know that this is one of those kind of years where you may be doing your best coaching job.
Man, you're in the grind. You don't think about stuff like that. We'll let other people reminisce on that later.
Yeah.
I do believe our guys, should be praised for the way they've shown up and answered the bell 100%. But at the same time, like, we took the approach I told you earlier on, no pity, and still like, Josh Scott's going to be fine, guys. He doesn't have cancer. He didn't lose, come on, man. Like, if it's the worst thing that happens to Josh Scott in his life, he's lived a blessed life. Like, let's have some perspective about this. And then the second off is, I used to always say, whether it's true or not, it's a good story. symbol in Japanese for crisis is also the same for opportunity. When something bad happens, other people have an opportunity to step up and fill the void. And these guys have certainly done that. We're thankful for their effort and their toughness. And like you said, they figured out a way to win 17 games thus far. But we're not going to start looking back and being thankful quite yet. We're 10 days out from the most important game of the year. When postseason starts, everybody's 0-0, and basketball's a postseason sport. So we're going to continue to push forward and grind and hopefully find a way to limit our turnovers a little bit and to put that thing in a basket a little bit better rate. And our defense continue to be stingy and maybe look up and have an opportunity to do something special.
Yeah, Coach, and I think that kind of goes back to a lot of times your team's not going to probably win the eye candy contest. But like Coach Dale Pruitt used to say, you don't have to be the best team. You just have to win the next game. And,
That's
it's kind
100%.
of like the way basketball works.
In basketball, there's so many variables nobody takes into play. I have been fortunate enough to have the best team in the state before, and put on, well, you're gonna win this game, and I was like, guys, calm down, like let him turn his ankle, let this guy get 3 fouls. Like, there's so many variables in the game of basketball. We had our FCA guy at Ole Miss our first year. Jonathan always say, it's not the best team that wins, it's the best team on game day that wins. You just got to be the best team on game day. You don't have to beat anybody but the team in front of you, and you just got to be the best team on game day. There's a lot of truth to that in basketball with all the variables, and it's the only sport where the best player can be taken out by the referees. Like,
Yeah.
so obviously, you just got to figure out when that thing's tipped up. You got to figure out a way to win the game, and this group's done a good job of that so far, and we hope that we can continue to do that.
Well, Coach, I want to ask you about a few things outside of basketball. Kind of atmosphere at Fort Payne, great. I've been to several games. The student section does a super job. Do you kind of ag that on, or do they
Not
kind
a
of sort of do
not a
things
bit,
on their
man.
self, on their own?
I haven't spoken to the students. The last year we had a guy, Sal Moses. I'll give him a shout out. That kind of coach. I'm running that student section. He did a good job. He graduated. He's running cross country Northeast. I didn't know who would step up this year, but those guys have answered the bell. I've always believed that if it's student led, it'll be more exciting. It'll be cooler.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm old yet, but it's been a long time since I was considered cool, Phil. If I ever was. So
Yeah.
we let them guys do their deal as long as they don't get out of control and they know the line. They've done a great job of not, of being loud and abrasive, but not stepping across that line. And they do a great job. Our cheerleaders, our band, they've got great leadership. They've done a great job. Miss Brittany Owens, Mr. Pascal, they do a great job with the band and cheerleaders and those guys being there. This is basketball is a unique environment where it's so cozy and so intimate, and the more students involved, the better you are, and for those guys to be a part, we want this thing to be a big student led event, and there's a lot of energy. It's a tap build, we're building that new arena. I know some people have seen the drawings in the lobby. We're excited about that new arena, but we don't want to lose this atmosphere. We're trying to do everything we can to make sure this thing stays cozy because when this gym's rocking, it's unique. It's a loud place to play and a lot of fun for our student athletes to be a part of.
Well, I know when me and my wife we come to see my niece play with Kinsley Worthy, so we'll get there early. But as the games get bigger toward the end, it gets to where people's coming in, trying to find a way to get a seat, which is a great thing. I mean, that leads to a great atmosphere.
We
Coach, I want
we
to
had a
ask you
referee
something.
from Tennessee. I
Do
was gonna
what,
say we had a
say?
referee from Tennessee. We had a referee from Tennessee the other night for the Gadsden City JV game. He was like, Coach in Tennessee, like we don't, it ain't this serious. He's like, y'all got a standing room only crowd for a JV boys game.
Yeah.
I see all these people know, like you better get here early, or you're not gonna get a seat. So it's got an old school Sylvania, Plainview, Crossville, Geraldine '90s, '80s vibe to it. Like it's been fun to be a part of. It's a loud. Sometimes it gets a little hot in here. It's a little bit of a throwback. We've enjoyed it for sure.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to watch. Well, I want to ask you this, Coach. I noticed that you always wear a sport coat and tie, but you don't require your other coaches to wear. Why? What makes you do that?
It's a long story. It's several stories. Really. The first story is I had all those coats and ties left over from my Ole Miss days,
Yeah,
and I wanted Plainview at the time basketball was on the mat, and so I wanted it to be important. I wanted to show our guys, hey, this thing's important. My dad told me a long time ago, if you can't be good, you can at least look good. We was going to tuck our jersey in, it was going to look the part. So it started as that, and then it kind of grew to like, well, you can't change now. And then the COVID hit, so I went to the NBA look, the golf polo and the trousers. And Dr. Barnett told me, he said, Coach, I really, I just don't think it's who you are. Like you've got to get back to the sports coat. So we got back to the sports coat. Of course, we won two more state titles. So it just kind of become kind of kind of who we are. Kind of I guess, my identity. Coach Rice at Crossville, he oftentimes wore a tie. I grew up with Coach Rice and Coach Jones on their benches. So, you know, uh, my dad, of course, was an old school guy. And them guys in the 60s at Geraldine, Tom Ritchie, and all those guys wore coats and ties. It's just, I don't know if it kind of become my deal, and I guess you can't go away from it. I guess I'm kind of pot committed at this point.
yeah. Well, that's a great story. Well, Coach, I want to ask you this about Mr. Jett, and Mr. Boatwright. They are really behind this basketball program. I'm sure they're a big part of why you're at Fort Payne. But those guys, I know they believe in you, but administration is so important to basketball because you and I know how expensive all sports are now. I mean, good Lord, paying the officials is a big thing. Basketball is an investment.
It's and those guys, it's amazing. Like been a small school guy most of my career in my life, so you don't realize how many sports we have. You think about in the fall and in the spring and in the like. During basketball, we've got wrestling going on, and now you got indoor track, and during the spring you've got track, and you got softball, you got uh, baseball, and during the fall you got volleyball. I mean, we've got so many cross country, we've got so many sports. But you look up now, we're going to have an administrator at every game, if not two or three. We've got a small town feel for a 6A program. And maybe that's a lot of their upbringing. I think it's also Fort Payne's a kind of a close knit community. I tell coaches all the time, you're only going to be as good as your administrator. I've been fortunate enough, and Phil, you guys cut me off. You guys know that I've never been a microphone I didn't like, so I can talk. But it's cool. I got to being able to call principals and superintendents on behalf of former players and former assistants. And when Cade Willingham got the Cold Springs job 2 years ago, I told that principal called me about it. And I said, well, really, I'm interviewing you. And I said, don't be offended by that. And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, if you're not ready to hire a young coach, I'm going to tell Cade to turn the job down. So, he's 24, 23 years old. He's going to learn on the job. If you ain't going to have his back, he don't need to take this job. If you're not committed to basketball being good, he don't need to start off his career with a bad experience. And obviously Cold Springs is very committed to basketball. Their girls program, and their principal's a phenomenal guy. And I was so thankful that Kate's first job was at Cold Springs. But that's the truth. You're only as good as your administration, and Fort Payne is extremely well aligned. And it goes down to the principals at the middle school, at the elementary school. Anybody I've dealt with has been, very, very supportive. The rec league, I've never had a rec center, at Playview and at Crossville. You use the high school gym to run your Pee Wee program. We've got a rec center, and those guys, Brent Meadowbrooks and those guys, like this place has been so aligned, for a place that, I was a foreigner coming in, old country boy from Sand Mountain. A lot of people maybe, I just don't know if you're gonna fit in down there. This place has been unbelievable supportive, and like you said, Coach Elmore, Coach Varnador, Coach Sparks, Coach Powell, the volleyball coach. How many volleyball coaches has been the state player here in basketball? Like it's just we're crazy aligned. We're on board. We want the Wildcats to win every night out. Our administration. from top to bottom, has been very supportive. Our middle school's made some changes so that we could be more involved. Shane Bird, Jordan Giles, Nick Owens, I can go on and on. We've got phenomenal support. We want to be good at everything. Academics is important. We're gonna chase the ACT score. We're gonna chase AP classes. We're gonna chase dual enrollment. Like I've been very, very impressed by the situation I inherited and the community support and the alignment from the Board of Education to the superintendent to the administration to hey, coach, we're going to give you, as much as we can. They have to tell me no. I mean, they're not genies. There's give and take. Obviously, I have to sacrifice some time for baseball. Or Coach Elmore sometimes says, Coach, you can't have them today, but you can have them tomorrow. Like there has to be a lot of communication, and a lot of give and take. But everybody is committed to Fort Payne being the best we can be in all avenues. And we are a 6A program, but we still have a small school vibe, and it's been very rewarding for me to be a
Yeah,
part
we've
of.
talked to Coach. Yeah, we've talked to Coach Elmore several times. Super guy. And one that you mentioned, Cade, of course, the basketball coach at Plainview now. Incidentally, we're going to have him on next Monday. I think Plainview's in pretty good hands as far as the basketball coach goes.
No kidding, man. He was a dog for us. He was so easy to be motivated. He wanted to play for Plainview. He was the kind of a guy that was going to be, he wanted to be the best that he could be, and he was a team player. I can tell you a couple stories, a couple of Cade Willingham stories that I still hold fond memories. And he, one of my favorite pictures is me and him hugging after the first state championship in '18. He's a dog, man. I was worried about him taking the job because of his age. He's too young. It's hard. He's in tier two. He's going to do it for 40 years. I don't know if you can be a coach anymore at the same place for 40 years.
Yeah,
But I also knew he wasn't going to turn the job down if he could get it either. He had to take it. So
yeah,
he loves that place. He's a first class dude, and certainly having a great year this year. I told him in a group text, a couple former players, we talked trash a little bit back and forth. We had a group text going, and I told him on Saturday night, he has to be the first coach to win the Sound Mountain tournament and the county tournament in his first attempt. There's your little history. I can't think of anybody else that done it. There's a lot of great basketball coaches in the county tournament, the Sound Mountain tournament. To win it your first time, is certainly impressive. And he's got an older group that's done a great job, and he's doing a great job with them, and I'm certainly proud for him.
yeah. Of course, they've moved up to 4A. Howie, I'll give you a few minutes. You ask Coach a few things.
Well, Phil, I'm going to steal one of your questions that you was going to ask last night to Coach today. Since he brought up the county tournament, do you miss being able to the camaraderie of having the being in the county
How it
tournament?
set me up for that's a loaded question.
Yeah,
I don't miss them. I don't miss those seating meetings. I tell you that, Howie. Golly. Oh, me. Don't get me started. It was a love hate relationship sometimes. That county tournament. I loved it as a player. I loved it as a coach. It was fun to be a part of. Certainly. Uh, it was I've got great memories from that, Howie. There's some guys in that room that I got a lot of respect for. And but you know how it is, man. Once you're on to the next thing and you don't even think about it, you're in your own little world. Uh, you miss the 3 games you had. You got to find when you don't have the county tournament, you got to find 3 more games. So you don't have the same amount of tournament. You have to find something to do pre-Christmas. Luckily here, Coach Sparks at the Wills Valley Shootout going. I think next year's our 25th year of that. So, but yeah, a lot of fond memories from a lot of good friends in those rooms, certainly. Uh, but we also had some battles, some arguments in those rooms too. How
Yeah,
I don't miss the drama that sometimes came along with those rooms. How about that?
yeah, I understand. I've been in a couple of those myself, and it was interesting seeing some of the coaches gathered together for the seatings and all that. So
I tell you this, how it's amazing. I always had the best players during the year. Like nobody ever argued that I had the best players. Especially the last 5, 6 years, I had the best players. Um, except when we gave out certificates, then I didn't have the best players. I couldn't get all my guys on all county. I just never understood that. Guys, y'all say that I've got the best players, but then when we come in here and vote, I don't have the best players. It was always a little bit of a rub on that. But other than that, how I got a lot of respect for those guys in that room, and uh, there's been a lot of good basketball coaches in that Sandmount tournament and that county tournament, and a lot of guys have been mentors to me come through there, and uh, a lot more positive memories than bad memories. I'll say that, Howie.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about this year, coaching wise, you mentioned earlier that you'd love to be able to play fast and all that. How difficult has it been for you coaching this year, having to somewhat change your coaching style a little bit?
Sure, we've always put a high priority on half court defense. I oftentimes thought people overvalued our offense and undervalued our defense during some of those runs at Plainview. But uh, when you play slow, you just never get away from anybody. Like you're up eight. If you play fast, you're probably up 16. The game's over. Every possession is just magnified, and it probably causes me to be a little bit more emotional on the sideline and lose my cool a little bit faster. And which I tell my team not to be emotional, and then here I am being emotional, so I sound like a hypocrite. I'm still trying to improve Howie every day, but it's hard in a sense of it's not as fun a way to play your guys. Uh, I know, like coach, you're asking me to shoot 500 threes in a day, and you're going to let me take two during the game. Like, what you know, like I get it, but it's hard as losing. So, just get to focus on other things, and there's some you miss, like you say, golly, we could have took advantage of that guy on the floor there, but it's just, man, practice is going to be regardless most of the times. Coaches are never satisfied. You're always wanting to strive for better. So, it's just you just have to put your time in other areas. But it's not a fun way to coach, and it's not the way I feel like the game's meant to be played. But thank God that shot clock ain't been installed yet. So that's what we're going to do this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talking about your team, you and Phil was talking about the team, and you had a variety from eighth grader all the way up to seniors. Is this the most variety age group that you've ever had?
Yeah, there was a time when I coached every team. I coached seventh, eighth, JV, and varsity 1 year. So I've coached different levels, but not the same practice, like you said. Like there's some things that I want to get mad at Cy Powell for, and I think when he's in eighth grade, we ain't taught him that yet. You know what I mean? Like, he's really come on, but he's only scratching the surface as a basketball player. Um, we got a seventh grader on the JV. So in practice, I've always been a JV varsity guy. I got that from Kel Black the year I helped him at Geraldine, and I just thought there was a lot of value in that. So I've always practiced my JV and varsity together, and so we've got a set. We've got 13 to 19-year-old at practice. So but it's basketball. It is what it is, and you just try to put your best foot forward every day. And I've had some bad practice plans. I've came back and I said, guys, I did a bad job yesterday. Like, we've got to go over this first. It's been a learning experience. Some maybe it's coaching a little bit for me as well. But at the end of the day, it's about putting the ball in the hoop. Offense really comes down to three things. You want a backboard layup, you want to catch and shoot three, or you want an offensive rebound. If you get one of those on all three on the offensive possession, successful possession. On defense, it's right the opposite. You don't want to give up a catch and shoot three. You don't want to give up a backboard layup. You don't want to give up a defensive rebound, offensive rebound. So, the game's a simple game. We took down the playbook when Josh left. Obviously, we had a bunch of actions in to get him ISOs and getting him post touches and getting him catch and shoot three. So we cut the playbook, in half once we realized he was out for the year. And I told the guys that I was like, guys, really, it's a simple game. Like us coaches, sometimes there's often times that we run actions just so that we can feel like we're smart, to show that we're worth our money. Like it's a simple game, guys. We're going to show people how simple a game it is. For this group to be successful, we've got to be very, very good at the simple things, and we kind of really burn it down to those. That's always been our goals. I guess for I don't know when we developed that 6, 7 years ago. Those are the three things that define a good possession on offense and defense, and that's what we're going to do. And this group has done a great job. Like you said, you guys are going to get me reminiscing. I don't need to get there yet. We got 11 more days left, but this group's done a great job of showing people really how simple the game of basketball is. Get quality
No,
shots, don't give up quality shots. It's really a simple game.
we're not going to reminisce because season hasn't started yet. In my opinion,
That's right.
when you play basketball, season don't start till they're in a tournament. The way I
That's right.
look at it,
There's a lot.
because
Ronnie Staper always said these 30 games are like practice, Robbie. Like, everybody's really getting ready for that 7 game season at the end. And I've never taken that approach 100% because I hate losing so bad. Not that Coach Staper didn't take, not that he didn't play to win or he didn't hate losing. I'm not saying that, but just, and then also you're going to miss on a lot of quality moments. You know what I mean? Like, golly, like, a lot of fun, winning a season game. But at the end of the day, it's 30 games prepared for that 7 game term. Starts the first day of February. Like you said, it's important.
you still there, Coach?
Did I lose you guys? Yeah, I'm back.
Just
I got one bar. I got 14% of my phone. Am I back with you guys, or are you guys?
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
we hear you.
You're good.
We hear
You
you.
got me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you kind of faded out
Yeah.
just there for a second, but
I'll
yeah,
plug
when
my
it comes
phone
to
in.
basketball,
I'll plug my
okay,
phone in. Yeah, no question. It's a 7 game season. No, think about Auburn. Think about how good a regular season Auburn had last year. Uh, Alabama probably was cold and finished their season disappointed. I think they lost the last 2 games of regular season and lost the SEC tournament game, first game. Auburn on fire wins the SEC tournament. But instead, Alabama goes to the Final Four. Auburn gets upset, and everybody talks about the year Alabama had. Basketball is
right.
certainly a postseason sport. So you're certainly right about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
In football, you lose one game, you're done basically to a certain extent. Well, they've added the playoffs now, but when it comes
Think
to
about this. Talk
basketball,
about the playoffs. Ryan Day is fired, most likely, if it's a 4 game playoff, like it was last year, 14 playoff. Because he loses to Michigan, he don't make the playoffs.
right,
Instead, we have a 12 team playoff. He's a 7 seed. He blows it out. Now he's gonna get a raise.
Yeah.
Timing
Well,
is everything in athletics.
and
and
well,
probably a
and one,
lifetime contract too.
Yeah.
hey, and one thing could have happened in that too is they could have sent Ohio State to Tennessee, and you don't know how they would have responded there. If they'd have got beat, he'd have probably got fired there.
Exactly. Like, it's crazy. You got to control what you can control, and obviously he did a good job of that. I hope personally, I don't know anybody on the Ohio State staff. I don't know anybody up that way. I don't know any Ohio State fans. I hope he takes the NFL job and let them have it. So that'd be for me. Win the national championship. So you know what, you guys want to put that kind of pressure? You guys can have it. I'll go coach in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you understand?
So it's Phil kind of touched on it earlier, and this season could this be one of the most fun seasons you've had coaching because you've had to change your style a little bit?
I don't know about that. Guys, for the most part, I have fun. It's fun to say 'cause I'm a pessimist and I'm negative. My dad would say I was a habitual bitcher. That's what he always say. And so, and I am. That's who I am. My wife will tell you I'm ultimate high, ultimate low guy. But generally speaking, I like to laugh. I like to have fun. I have fun. We went 1-9 a year at Crossville in football, and we had a blast. I got to work with guys that I love. Got to work for a guy I played for. Work with a guy I played for. So, you know, generally we have a lot of fun. So I don't know about most fun, but uh, but it's it's been demanding. Is the word I was. You're trying to change. You're trying to adjust. And you're trying to put guys. We've got 3 guys playing in a position, and you're trying to teach them new position. It's been a lot. It's been challenging. I don't know if fun's the right word yet, but it's also been a lot of rewarding. We've had a couple good wins that that our guys' guts and effort and relentlessness has really paid off and been a lot of fun to dance in the locker room. And we've had a lot of fun as well this year.
Couple more questions. I'll turn it back over to Phil to let him close us out. And you mentioned about dancing in the locker room. Do y'all do some type of celebration after a win?
Yeah, this new era, man. The cell phone's taking away the fun. I can't have fun, as much fun worried about that camera. Because I know I'm a bad dancer. But I can't afford to have that show up on Facebook somewhere. But now now today's world, if you don't record it, it didn't happen. It's like, guys, I mean, you don't have to record everything, but yeah, they love to turn the road wins. They love to turn on the jam box and have a dance session. I told you earlier, I don't know if I've ever been considered cool, so they look like they're cool. I don't know if they really are or not, but they certainly have a good time with it, and my son enjoys it. Yeah, we like to dance on road wins, Howie.
I've watched you coach quite a few games at Plainview and Fort Payne and all that. And one thing that I'm wondering is, I wonder how much water you drank during the game, because you're always walking to the end of the bench to grab a cup of water, take a few sips of it, and then walk back to the other end. And it seemed like by the time you get back to the other end, you turn back around, go down, and get more water.
I do. The worst part of getting technical for me is sitting down. I wasn't classified ADHD, but I bet I was ADHD. I struggle. I'll walk the bottom off a pair of shoes. I've tried to sit down. I'd like to shut my mouth. I'd like to calm down. I don't know if that helps at all in coaching. Uh, I went and watched Mick Hedgepath at UAH, fellow Crossville alum, coach on Saturday. And every time I watch him coach, I tell him, like, I'm so jealous of you. Like, he's so calm and in control and no emotions at all, man. Like, I mean, it looks like it'd be such a fun way to coach, and I just wish I could do it. Often you have to, I also tell young coaches you have to coach your personality. You got to be you. And Mick is doing a phenomenal job. I don't know if you guys know, I think he's 18-1, top five in the country. So I'm so proud of him. My arms are getting tired from holding this phone, guys. I'm getting a little crooked. I know that
I
he's
know
just
you're
done a
good.
great job. I love to watch him coach. But you have to coach your personality, and I grew up with Coach Rice, very demanding, very negative. Always grinding. And then Coach Jones was more of a player's coach, but coached every bounce. If you ever saw Coach Jones pass, he'd dribble up, pass it over, post up, throw it in there. He coached a lot. And then Coach Hogan, of course, was a basket case, and I say that because I love him. You guys have seen him coach. I was probably on the Coach Hogan's bench. He got the job when I was in third grade, I believe. So I was a water boy third, fourth, and fifth, and sixth. And then I played for him seventh through 12th. So, the impact he had on me accidentally, I mean, you spend that much time with somebody. Unfortunately, he wasn't a cursor. So I didn't get that habit from him, Howie. To coach Robbie Coker for 6 years and never curse. I mean, how long is his robe going to be in heaven? I mean, can you imagine? I mean, but to never say a cuss word, is amazing. But he could hurt your feelings without saying a cuss word. He'd said meaner things to you than cuss words. Uh, Coach, I don't know if that's the right. I don't know if I've never heard that word used in that context before. But he, so those guys were my mentors, and then Coach LaPlante at Jack State. He was up and down the sideline, a lot more calm, but was a Catholic from Massachusetts, so he was very, very good with the F word. And then Andy Kennedy, you guys have all seen Coach Nice. Coach, he's going to be in the Basketball Hall of Fame maybe one day. He's won so many games. And everybody always talks about AK. Like, he is the funniest guy in the world. He's so fun to work for, except those 2 hours during the games. He loses his mind during the game. So, I guess you're a product of your environment. And, unfortunately, walking up and down that sideline and being a little too emotional at times is kind of who I am. I'm still working on it. I have been better a lot this year. There's been several games uh, I was pretty good last night. The game's 32 minutes. I was really good for about 28 of them, Howie, but the other four I was terrible. It's like I can't just be a C. I'm an A for 28 minutes and I'm an L for 4 minutes. I'd like to, just be a B or C for the whole game. But uh, I guess they was saying that I'm not as good as I need to be, but I'm not as bad as I used to be. I continue to improve maybe. So maybe another 6 or 7 years, I can get that worked out.
We need to let you carry your phone during the game to see how many steps you take in one night.
Yeah, no quit. I need to do that. I do it during practice. I go over 10,000 steps every day. But during the game, I should do that for a game just to see. That's good. Uh, the, uh, the other things when I did heat check those 2 years at Plainview, that microphone made me a better person because I could hear, I was conscious, what the other people was going to hear. And then I would hear myself, I'm embarrassed with some of the things I said, like, why would you say that? So uh, maybe I need to put the microphone back on and uh, break myself down after a game, but a little film review.
I remember back a few years ago, I was running the clock at Fife, and Plainview and Fife was playing. You got a tee, and you had to sit down for the whole second half. I think you got it during the second quarter.
Yeah, about 3 quarters, yeah.
Yeah, and after the game, I was walking out, and I walked past you, and I said, "Coach, I'm proud of you. I didn't think you'd actually sat down that long, but you did." And you just looked at me and kind of smiled, said, "It was rough. I tell you that much."
Yeah, I mean, that's just, I admire those guys that sit down. I really do. And the younger coaches are getting, I think that's more of a trend. I do admire those guys. I do. I say that with sincerity. Like I do. I don't know if all that screaming and yelling helps or not. Uh, but then I'm afraid. Like when I do it, my kids like are looking over like, is he quit on us? Like, what's wrong with him? So, but yeah, I guess it's kind of my personality, uh, and good, bad, indifferent. That's kind of who I've become, and I'm gonna continue to work on it. I'm gonna make that promise.
Well,
Absolutely.
Coach, yeah, I know you talk about you are hard on the guys and you expect you're demanding, but if you wasn't hard on them like that, you know, they would probably think something was wrong, because once a kid learns to be coached hard, that's what he responds to, so that's part of your personality, but it becomes part of their personality also.
Yeah, I played for two guys that were crazy hard on players. Chris Garman, rest in peace. I mean, he was hilarious. The things he said to me, you know, and then I'd run through a wall for him. And I've already told you about Coach Hogan. Like, I mean, he said some, he didn't curse as much as Coach Garman, but he said some crazy mean things. Like, he'd go back generations. Like, I was supposed to be a tough guy. I was from Skirl, he would go back generational. So so I don't know if that, and I just thought that's kind of how it was. And then you know, grew up on Bear Bright. My dad was a sports writer and loved Alabama, so he grew up on them Bear Bright stories and the Junction Boy. And I just think, I am a little bit of an old school guy. I graduated in 2000, not 1980, but because I was the only child, because I grew up with my dad and around coaches, and I just think that I was in a field house or a gym every day. As a kid, didn't realize how big a blessing or a curse. It may have been a curse, maybe. But you know, Ronnie Householder, Raymond Weaver. The first time I heard the F word, Raymond Weaver taught me the F word, coach. I was about 9 years old. So, I mean, the things that, and I grew up around a bunch of men, at the softball field that I feel like, were like brothers or, so many, mentors were, my dad coached Paul Benefield and Dale Pruitt in softball on the same team. Think about that. How cool is that, I mean, so I was just raised around those kind of dudes. And so I'm a little bit old school. Um, and it made me a better person. Like I got in enough trouble. I had good parents at home. You guys know my mom and dad, but I did some bad, stupid things, as a boy. And I think Coach Garman and Coach Hogan and Coach Reese, they made me better. They made me a better person. Like, what would I got into without them getting on me for 2.5 hours a day for 7 years? So I do believe my guys know I love them. I do believe, I have guys like, if I said that to a kid coach, like he wouldn't play for me. But I also think that oftentimes they don't see the good things I say to them and the relationship I have with them off the floor. We have a lot of fun. I am a cut up. I do like to joke. Um, I mean, for the most part, I do feel like my guys can call me if they're hungry and know I'll give them $20 or if they were on the side of the road tonight, I'd go help them get out of the ditch. I do think guys that play for me, I do have a good respect for. I'm not saying everybody that's played for me loved it, or nothing like that, but there's a lot of former players I still talk to. There's a lot of guys that come in my office tomorrow. There'll be a guy come in here and hang out that I've said some mean things to in the last 48 hours, probably. So, it is kind of my personality. It's kind of who I am. And I've been fortunate enough to have some great parents and great administrators and great players that know it's coming from the right place. And I've apologized. I've said a couple things. I apologized to Will Kurt one time. I have apologized to a guy like, he just, it's come from the right place, but I probably should have said it in a better way. I'm not above reproach. And uh, Miss Marshall called me my first year playing. He told me I was getting too many technicals. So I mean, we all grow. I'm not, I got bosses. Mr. Timmons, Mr. Boatwright, Mr. Jet. If they need to get on to me, they will. None of us are above approach. So we've all got bosses, but we also still grow. I'm still learning. I'm still learning. There are some guys that I probably need to say less to. They might be better players. So uh, as a coach, I think we get better every year. You mentioned maybe I'm doing a good job this year coaching. I hope I am. I want to look back and say I got better in this area this year. Like I think part of being a man, and part of being an educator, especially, is we ain't figured this thing out. When I quit learning and growing, I'm gonna do something else. I enjoy learning leadership and coaching stuff for sure.
Well, Coach, I think, these young men that play for you and the ones that have played for you is when they do finish playing. Sometimes they may not like you at times, but I think at the end of the day, when they do finish, they look back and say, uh, Coach Coker made me a good man. Because I had two of my coaches that were big influences on me were Steve King and Jim Kirby, and
I
they were hard on
promise
you.
you. I promise you.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this because I love Coach King. I promise you,
Yeah.
you were at Valley Hill with Coach King. I can't imagine him in them days. Like I've heard those stories.
Yeah.
Like I've heard Paul. I've heard Paul Bell stories at 5 from playing basketball for Coach King. That was after the Valley Head days. Yeah, Coach King was very hard on those guys. Jim Kirby, I'm sure was hard too. That's just kind of how it was in those days. It was just like it didn't matter where you was at. Jerry Rice, Steve King, Chick Nix. I mean, whatever gym you were in DeKalb County in them days, you were getting screamed at. That's just the way it was. I mean, nobody thought nothing of that. That was just coaching in those days. And that's kind of who I grew up around. And uh, there's probably a better way out there. But like you said, like all those guys I look back with fond memories. Coach Garment said some mean things to me, but when I get together with guys who I play with, it's all the funny things he said.
Yeah.
It's all the it's the things you didn't think you could survive that you did survive. That later in life, these days in college where I didn't think I could get that, I couldn't pass that kinesiology test. I was thinking, well, I didn't think I could make them 19 gassers that day either, and I did. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of value to high school athletics still needed in this world, and that, like you said, I hope those guys look back with fond memories.
And coach,
Well,
you're
I
probably
think
like
when
me.
I think
Once you got home, your parents asked you how practice went. You told them you got yelled at. And they probably laughed at you and said, "Well, you deserved it."
I didn't ever say that. It's my mom. It's crazy. My dad run the hardware store. He might stop by practice. He might not, especially when I didn't drive. I'd get home. There's gonna be a meat and three on that table. Roast, pork chop. I mean, it was gonna be a. My mom's gonna have some kind of good dinner cooked. We was gonna eat dinner about 5:30, and she was gonna ask how was practice. I was gonna say good. That was it. You didn't say. Well, Coach Garman told me I was soft, and he embarrassed that I was wearing black and gold, and you just didn't tell him that.
Well,
Practice
you
was good.
didn't. I wouldn't go into details. I just tell them, "Yeah, I
Yeah,
got yelled at," and they just say,
yeah,
"Well, you probably deserved it." Did
that's
what he
right.
says.
That's right. Maybe if you wouldn't have screwed up, he wouldn't have yelled at you.
yeah.
But,
Absolutely. Unlike today, if the kids go home and say, "Coach yelled at me," they'll say, "Well, we'll talk to the coach and get him not to yell at you no more."
yeah, that may be some places, but for the most part, I think a lot of people. I think most people, I think we're still sheltered in DeKalb County. Most people still want their kid to be coached and understand what coaches go through and understand the relationship. I've often said if a kid knows your heart, he knows you're on his side. Yelling at him don't bother him, like you said.
Yeah.
I just think that I think all of us. There's maybe some people out there that don't value it, but for the most part, we still live a part of the country that values hard work and values toughness and values discipline and things that high school athletics teach. That that I'm thankful for looking back in my life, and they've seen me coach my son, and these guys have seen me holler at Rob, and I do say I don't see anything to Jackson Banks that I don't see to Rob Coker. There's a time that there's a funny story. I don't ever sit in the stand. I'm gonna tell this story. You guys need to go. It's been an hour. I don't ever sit in the stands at a football game. Why I was at in the stands at the uh, Plainview game one year, I don't know, but I was in the stands, sitting with my wife, and Seth Benefield didn't fair catch a punt, and it rolled to about the 3 yard line. And of course, Coach Benefield doesn't wait for him to get over to the sideline to start telling him how stupid he was for not fair catching that punt. And you can hear it in the bleachers at Plainview because I'm sitting up with my wife. And my wife looks at me. I said, you know who that is? He's hollering at. And she's like, no, who? I said, that's his son. you know, like,
Yeah.
you know, he don't care who it is. It's all fair. Everybody's fair game for Paul Benefoot. And that's why he's had the success he's had, and that's why all those kids respond to him. But they know it don't matter. He's going to treat you like his own son. And uh, Seth Benefield probably learned the lesson to fair catch that punt. I don't watch a lot of Fife games, but I have watched him play several. I don't remember Seth Benefield ever letting another punt bounce to the 5 yard line. So uh, it's a I love these guys, man. I often tell them, I don't know. I thank the Lord for about 6 or 8 things every day, and one of them's my team. I've never not had a locker room. Uh, I started coaching. I graduated in May of 2000. Coach Hogan gave me the 7th grade in October of 2000.
Oh, we may have lost him,
Must
Phil.
have lost his phone. I bet his phone died on him.
May have. He may have thought he had it plugged up, but it wasn't plugged in good enough.
Well, and I was going to make a statement that, to Coach Coker, and, of course we can talk to him later, but, the thing is I've learned from coaches I had that were hard on me. Coach Kirby called me when I had my liver transplant, and he told me, he said, Phil, you're going to be fine. He goes, from what you learn from playing competitive sports, don't let get too high when things go well. Don't get too low when things don't go well. Kind of stay on that, happy medium, and I said everything will be fine. But the biggest thing I learned from playing high school athletics and from all coaches was accountability. I think accountability is probably the biggest thing that I learned from coaches, especially the coaches that were hard on me.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way. That's the way the workforce is these days. You gotta be accountable for yourself and teach them at a young age. Hey, we got Coach back. Coach, you hear us?
You back with us? You hear us?
Third time's a charm, Howie.
Hey, that's good.
Third
Hey,
time's a
Coach, I was
charm.
going. I was going to make the statement. I wanted you to comment on this. But the biggest things I learned from coaches, and Coach Kirby called me when I had my liver transplant, and he told me, he goes, Phil, you're going to be fine. He said, the thing is you learned about playing competitive sports is don't never get too high when things are going good. Don't never get too low when things go bad. Stay on that happy medium. And the biggest thing I learned from coaches was accountability. I think that's the strongest point I learned from playing competitive sports, especially coaches that were hard on me.
That's what I tell all my parents. We'll have a parent meeting, and if your kid learns nothing else from high school athletics than being on time, it's a positive in his life. Like you guys don't probably take it for granted because I assume I get on this podcast, you guys are on like for 6 years of your life, you're going to be held accountable just to be on time. Just think about think about the blessing that is in somebody. If you don't get anything else in life, it's being on time is a valuable lesson. Cooperation, being able to be in a locker room with 5 to 40 different human beings and being able to cooperate and learn those social skills. Like if your kid never scores a basket, if your kid never plays a minute, think about the value of that, being able to interact with human beings. Yeah, I think because we're in athletics, like we take that for granted sometimes, like the lessons or the skills that we've received or we practice because of being in that locker room. And I can go on and on about coaches and teachers uh, and then supporters. Like I went to Crossville First Baptist Church. My wife was out of town and we were running late. So one day I just popped in the Cross First Baptist. The guy preaching there has been on me about coming by and seeing him. So I jumped in and like being at Crossville First Baptist and seeing my eighth grade English teacher and seeing the local pharmacist and seeing the guy that I played church league softball against in 1998 that I hadn't seen in 10 years. Like because he came to Crossville games and he gave me a high five when I left the field or the court. Like the value of athletics and and what it brings to people's lives. Like I just had warm and fuzzy feeling being at Crossville First Baptist, just seeing 20, 25 faces that I hadn't seen in a while, just because we had that common value that we all wanted Crossville to win a ball game. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy, but it's true in my life anyways.
Phil, do you have anything else? If not, we'll let Coach get out here, get go see his family and everything with rarities and that off.
No, I just appreciate him
Crazy.
coming on. It's always a pleasure to talk, Coach. I enjoy visiting with you, and of course, naturally, want to wish you the best of luck, and maybe I'll see you a game or two before the season's over.
No question. I always talk too much, Phil. That's
No, no,
my
that's
my
why that's
dad.
why we want you on here, man.
My dad said that comes from the Williams side. I come from my mama's side. My dad always said. But I appreciate what you guys do. Hope I didn't offend anybody. Sometimes I'm gonna be too truthful, but I got a lot of fond memories from this game and from high school athletics. And I'm very, very. I tell people this. I'm gonna leave with this. If I'm gonna go a little negative on you, if we're not careful, I'm afraid my sons in the third grade won't play high school athletics. Uh, you look at the number of people not going into education. You look at the number of officials. Now, I know this is funny coming from me. I know this is funny coming from me. But if we don't take care of our officials, we're not going to have games. Nobody under 40 is doing it, and nobody can blame them.
Right.
If you're without no officials, guys, we can't have games. Uh, and then because we're starting at an early age playing too many games, burnout is real. Uh, we've got high school seniors that quit, or juniors quit because they've played more other than football. And I told Chris this, and football's getting there. Pee Wee football now, they're getting where they play about 12 or 14 games. But we've got guys quitting sports because they've played more games by the time they're in ninth grader than I played my entire career. Uh,
Yep.
we just do. And I've got a son right now arguing to play summer basketball. And here I am thinking, is that should I not? I don't want to, I mean, youth sports is a positive, but it's got become we're doing too much because a lot of people's making a lot of money doing it. What's that
Mhm.
happy medium? If we're not careful, we're going to lose high school athletics uh, because the reality is in other places they already are. We're in Alabama and we're in Northeast Alabama, and you can already tell that the crowds aren't what they used to be, and that's because we're all living our own little world, you know. Uh, because we're all doing too much, and this phone, we're all addicted. We can be entertained in other ways, but I'm dead serious about that. I really worry. I tell people all the time. I just hope my son gets to play high school basketball and high school football if he wants to, and high school baseball if he wants to, and if he wants to run track, whatever he wants to do. I hope he gets to play high school athletics the way I was able to, because of the lessons of life I learned, the friendships I made, and the memories I have. Uh, High school athletics are a beautiful, beautiful thing. Even with all the drama that Howie brings up, even he's right, and he's right about that. Like there's a lot of issues I don't deal with that other coaches have to deal with. I am lucky in that deal. He's right. There's some ignorant people out there. I have people all the time say, "Well, coach, what if they won't let me do that?" I said, "Well, I'd get another job." You know what I mean? Like I'd coach somewhere else. I'd find me a different place to be. You know, uh, but if we're not careful, if we don't value our coaches and our young coaches, if we don't value our officials, if we're going to look up, and we're not going to have high school athletics. And I really believe that's going to be a detriment to our country and to our communities. So
Hmm.
keep doing what you guys are doing, bringing a little joy to high school. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I always do. Anytime you need a fill in, I'm good for an hour. Let me know.
Okay.
Coach,
Hey,
before
we
you get
appreciate you.
going, be sure to give a shout out to whoever you want to, but especially your wife for you could have spent this last hour with her and your family, but
Yeah,
instead you're here with us.
she
So
may want me to help with bath time, but she does let me talk to you guys and then talk to her. I'm pretty confident. So uh, it's always good,
so
man. Appreciate you guys. Have a good one.
hey,
Hey,
thanks,
thank
Coach.
you.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes, sir.
So that was Coach Robbie Coker of Fort Payne, and Phil. It's always great having Coach Coker on. He's a outstanding guy, great coach, and always fun to talk to.
Yes, it's always animated. It's always fun to watch him. I mean, he's one of those you pay admission sometimes to go watch him because he puts on a show himself. But he's got things going well at Fort Payne. I think the future's bright down there as long as he stays down there. He's starting from the ground up, and you're going to eventually see these 70, 80 point games like he used to have when he was at Plainview. Right now you got to learn to crawl before you can walk, and he's just doing tweaking and adjusting to what he has, and it's a tribute to those kids that play at Fort Payne. They play hard, they grind it out. They're not the most athletic team you're going to see on the floor, but by there you're going to know they're there.
Yeah, absolutely, and they're going to give you everything they got till the very last horn goes off
Uh-huh.
at the end of the game. So, Phil, it's always great being with you, and a great show again tonight. And for everybody out there that's watching, maybe it's your first time, go like, share, follow, subscribe, whatever it is on Facebook, YouTube, uh, all your anywhere you can get podcasts on the platforms. I think you can get this show on there as well. So, Phil, you got any closing remarks before we get going?
No, just enjoyed it, Howie, and we'll look forward to doing it again. Of course, tomorrow night we got softball, Gadsden State softball coach Ryan Clark's going to be on with us, and you look forward to that one. Hear a little bit on the junior college softball scene, kind of spread the wealth there because I know he's looking forward to it, and it's always great to have him on.
Yeah, absolutely. And go ahead and plug Monday night show Beyond the Booth. We're going to have Coach Cade Willingham from Plainview. Is that correct?
Yeah, at 6 o'clock on Monday. I talked with him at the county tournament, and he's looking forward to it. And one of the great young coaches, and I know they've moved up to 4A. They're undefeated in area play and won the county championship, and so he's got that program off to a great start. And of course, you heard Coach Coker talk about him as an outstanding coach and outstanding young man.
Yep, absolutely. So uh, for Phil Harris, I'm Howard Chaney. This is Beyond the Booth. Thank you. Good night and God bless. Stay warm.
Yes.